God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. David.
Brother Blaine.
What's up, dog?
Man, you know how it is.
Yeah, glad to have you back.
Yeah, glad to be back, bro.
Man, blessed, grateful to be here,
Yeah.
Celebrating 6 years of sobriety today.
Bro, I mean, it couldn't have been better timing. Like,
I know.
we kind of planned this out of, just out of nowhere, and just happened to be your birthday on Valentine's Day, too.
Valentine's Day, yeah. Yep, 6 years ago, I woke up in a jail cell and was like, this is it, bro.
Yeah.
I got arrested on February 13th, 2018, after running and, just decimating everything I cared about,
Yeah.
and was relieved, felt relief in the fact that I had nowhere else to run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have anywhere to go.
The gig's up.
The gig is up, and it was like, okay, here we go. You know what I mean? And I actually had made that decision like in the holding cell when I was still a little bit drunk. You know what I mean? Like, I was in there doing push-ups. Like, I'm like, here we go. Like, I was excited, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I don't know where this is going, but I'm done with where I just came from. You know what I mean? Like, I'm no longer going to live that way. And, I was facing some serious charges, and I thought I was going to prison. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm going to freaking just beast up. I'm going to go do this little time, and I'm going to come out a changed man. Like, I'm no longer going to live that way. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't matter if I ever, got these relationships back or like, got this relationship with my daughter back. I knew that I would have a chance. You know what I mean? Because I knew that as long as I did what I needed to do and like got clean and sober and like pulled my life together, I knew that my daughter would see that. You know what I mean? And I knew that I would have an opportunity to have a life with her down the road one way or another. I just had that faith, and I knew that I just needed to clean up my act, because I couldn't go on living in that manner as a father the way that I was parenting anyways. You know what I mean? Like, that had to change.
Yeah.
Riding around in the car with her loaded and like, firearms and like the whole thing, you know what I mean? And like just rationalizing that she's too young, she doesn't understand what I'm doing here, but in all actuality, she probably knew,
Yeah.
I remember one time, dude, she gave me a look like, and I was like using in the car and stuff. Yeah. And I looked back at her and she was just like, kind of looking at me like, what are you doing?
Perceiving.
Like she was like looking at me and like looking at what I was doing, and then was like trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, this isn't good anymore. Like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And so, it was just full of, the relationships with her mom and like my parents and everybody that was involved in her life. I was running around, and lying to and like trying to manipulate the situation because I wanted to still be in my daughter's life, and they didn't want me to.
Right.
Basically, they were like, "Nope, you're too crazy. You can't be drinking around her." I was having issues with her mom's boyfriends, beating them up and chasing them around, and the whole, just being a psycho, dude.
Right.
Being a psycho. And it was because I was hurt, I was hurt inside from what happened in that relationship. I had guilt and shame over the whole situation, not living up to my own expectations, and just felt like a piece of crap, dude, And so that, that was a big reason why I was drinking in the first place and using and like trying to cover up my emotions, and it had to end, and it was it was at the end stage anyways. Like I mean, from there, that month after I had gotten arrested, I think I was supposed to be in court actually that day. I think it was like a Tuesday, and I was supposed to be at court, and I didn't have a ride. And I didn't have a ride because I had flipped my truck in a DUI.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to put some pieces of this puzzle together.
Yeah.
lost my vehicle, lost my license. Not that I even had a license. I hadn't had a license and I don't even know how long, bro.
Right.
Riding on a suspended license for years.
Right.
No tags. You know what I mean? Just
Running
riding dirty, dude.
Yeah.
No cares.
Nothing.
Only concerned about myself and only concerned about changing the way that I feel.
Right.
Like that was it. You know,
Yeah.
it ruled every waking moment. Like, how can I get more dope or stay, you know, drunk, whatever it is, or how do I get money to get more dope, or, you know, how do I, whatever, pleasure seeking, right? Just constantly pleasure seeking, trying to avoid pain, trying to avoid reality.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't live with myself anymore.
That's
You know
all
what I
we're
mean?
good at is
All we're
avoiding
good at.
reality,
Yeah.
bro. And
Yep.
one thing you said, man, that accountability that you had with your family is freaking, that's a blessing for the child, for the baby mom, and everybody involved, because sad to say, there's a lot of unsupervised accountability with parents that are smoking fentanyl around their kids. That's happening today. And these kids are ending up, you know, overdosed.
Yep.
You know, but me seeing you where you were at in the darkness and then like progressing to where you're at today, like just crazy full of light, bro, and just your cup overflows, and you've helped multiple people already get out of addiction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And those things right there came to be from a choice. Like you said, you're in the cell doing the push-ups, and you made that decision. Like, you don't even know what it is, where it's going to even go. You thought, I don't know, what, 10 years? What were you even looking at, bro?
Yeah, my maximum exposure was 12 years.
And to have that mindset, bro, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to turn that leaf, bro, that's God. I see just God all up in that, bro. Because I don't perceive or see you doing that or myself doing that on our own accord, bro.
No, I couldn't.
That's our higher power, bro.
Absolutely. And it wasn't even like, not only could I not do that on my own power, but like, that's why I was grateful to be there, is because I was powerless.
Yeah.
I could, on my own terms, on my own power, I could not stay sober. And I wanted to be sober, bro.
Yeah.
I had been wanting to be sober. I had gone to rehab earlier that summer. You know, I got arrested in February. The summer before, I had gone to rehab, you know, and like my parents had helped me into that rehab. And God bless my parents, dude. They've helped me into multiple rehabs. They've relocated me, you know, different towns. Like, did everything they could, bro.
Amen.
And you know, I'm so grateful for that, because some, like you said, dude, some parents don't fucking care.
They don't.
Not only do they use around their children, but like, as soon as you're 18, that's like, you're on your own.
Right.
You know what I mean? And my parents have, you know, they cut me off at the end, but that was the right decision. You know what I mean? That forced me into the bottom that I got to. And I think, you know, that was an important decision. And they were supportive of me as long as I was trying to better my life. Yeah. You know, like if I reached out to them and was like, I'm trying to get sober, I'm trying to, you know, move, I need to get out of this situation, I need to, you know, get into a rehab, they were always there for me. You know, whether they paid for it or like figured out the funding for me, whatever it was, they were always there.
Yeah.
You know, and I had some like abandonment issues through that whole situation, because I did feel like they turned their back on me at the end.
Yeah.
But really, it was me.
Yeah.
Like they never turned their back on me like this me.
Yeah.
They turned their back on the freaking psycho that was committing major violent felonies and driving drunk with their child in the car.
Well, they didn't know that person.
Yeah.
You became someone that was unrecognizable from that baby from birth and then your childhood, and you just warped into this menace to society, to the family. Yeah. And
you can't even like, I still, you know, we're going through a little bit of stuff with our teenager right now, but like, I can't judge them for their decision making. Like I haven't gone through that yet with a child, and, you know, hopefully I never will, but, you know, chances are we probably will. We got, you know, 5 kids, addiction on both sides. Like the numbers are there to where 1 or 2 of these kids are going to give us problems. But you know, they did the best they can or could, you know, and I'm so grateful for everything that they did for me. And it, like I said, them pushing me away hurt at the time, but you know, through working the 4-step and like going through that resentment,
it's a big
I
one.
came to terms that I was the one that pushed them away in the first place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm the one out there acting like a jackass that forced them to turn their back, that forced them to lock the door. You know what I mean? Because I'm being an idiot. They wouldn't have done that if I wasn't acting the way that I was acting.
No.
You know what I mean? And so getting incarcerated, you know, and another guy on my 4-step was my co-defendant. You know what I mean? Like I got arrested through, you know, a violent altercation with somebody behind a robbery. I beat this guy up, robbed him, but it was for somebody else. Like it was a favor.
Yeah.
And that person just threw me under the bus, ratted on me. And it was like, it was hard for me to come to terms with that. You know what I mean? And like, I held a deep resentment for a long time. You know, that whole year, the Johnson year, I was incarcerated and was like, you know, almost until the very end. I think I was probably like 10 months in when it hit me that like, I was grateful for this guy, you know, because if he hadn't ratted on me, I would have never had the opportunity to be removed from those streets, to be put in that jail cell, to have this spiritual awakening and work these steps and come to terms with where I was and what I've done and where I'm going. If he hadn't have freaking ratted on me,
Well,
dude.
if it would have continued, bro, imagine the progression in that sickness. Like we mentioned before, and when you interviewed me, like you came to me, we won't rob a freaking bank or a truck or a dealer. Some deadly freaking crap, man.
Yeah.
That would have landed us in a heap of mess. So
Yeah.
it was only by the grace of God, bro, that all that happened. And
100%.
recognizing it and being able to accept that, that's a huge part of the 4-step.
Yeah.
And then ultimately forgiving the people that wronged you.
Yep.
Because you did it to yourself. You brought yourself in that relationship.
Right.
You did that favor.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. You were doing the drugs.
Yeah. I'm the one that, knocked that guy's teeth out. Like it was me, you know? And but that's the power of the program. You know what I mean? Like that's the power of recovery is like you get to wake up to those things. And like, I was like, man, it was like an epiphany, you know? I was like, wow. So I'm actually very grateful for that guy.
No, 100%. So
and 2 out of 3 of us are still sober.
Wow.
The girl in that situation whose house it was that went down at, she's still sober, has her daughter back.
Wow.
Like, yeah, crazy, bro.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, you know, we said before, and it says in scripture, all things work for the good. Once you start loving on God and seeking that better life, it's just honestly, it's not even, it's mathematically or scientifically or just what's going on in the world. It makes no sense how something so bad can be good. Like that, you know, Ryan, you know, I sat down with him and he had that whole that story with the guy from Humble Origins, and he didn't know. He just didn't know. His horse was lost.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know if that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
The horse came back with the pile of more horses. He's like, I just don't know.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's the thing. We really don't know what God can do for us in our lives.
Yep.
You know? And one thing you did mention though, did you start programming in jail, like as far as AA and going to meetings in there? Is that where you started? Because you were able to come to conclusions. How? Was that on your own, or is there groups in there? Were you able to find help?
So I was able to go to a couple meetings in there. I was in the hole for like 9 months out of the year.
So what?
Well,
so it'll just throw you in there, dog.
Yeah, no, we did a removal. Like after 2 weeks, I'd been there for like 2 weeks. We did a removal. This guy was stealing. Went to the hole, came back out, and I had gotten the paperwork from my case. Found out what had happened with my co-defendant.
Yeah,
and then they put us in the same van on the way to court, and I was headbutting him in the van when we were handcuffed and shackled. And so I went back to the hole, and then, I think after that, I went back in a general population after a few months, and then he came down, or I was like in a step down unit, and my co-defendant came down and was serving trays like in our unit. And like, so, I went after him again, like as soon as I unlocked the door, and then I went back to the hole for that. And then they released me early on accident, and I turned myself back in. And so they're like, we're going to put you in general population when you come back for turning yourself in. I was like, cool. And so I went back upstairs to general population, and then I got in trouble for calling a shot up there. And so, yeah, spent a lot of time in the hole, but it's what I needed, bro. Yeah. Because when I in that isolation, like all I had was myself. I had the Bible, and I had like some literature, and my dad had sent me the NA step working guide, which has a ton of questions in it. And so, dude, I just started writing every question and writing every answer, every single question in that book, and just took my time and like really dove into each thing and was deep in the literature and like, in touch with my higher power, and just like developed this program around recovery, and like fitness was a big part of that too. Yeah. So it was like I would structure my day where it was like waking up, spending some time in prayer, and then just programming, bro, like getting into literature, and then would do step work at this time of day, exercise this time of day, we're eating, get some rec time, whatever it was. Then I'd read a different book in the afternoon, and then hopefully do what, just like develop this program around recovery. And I was like just solely focused on it. You know what I mean? I didn't have any distractions. You know what I mean? It was just me. Yeah. And I could not run from myself anymore. You know what I mean? There was nowhere to go. And there was still some dope in there and stuff, but I had made that decision. I was like, I'm not into it. I'm going a different direction now. Yeah. And so I just did everything that I could, bro, under those circumstances. And did all of the steps in there. And then when I got out, I found a sponsor when I was in Tahoe, and did the 5th step with him. And yeah, man, just, it worked for me. You know what I mean? And so getting sober under those circumstances, like when I got out, like I didn't really necessarily need the groups, the fellowship. Like I had figured it out for me already, like what worked for me, and how I can stay sober in that place, right? But being free, I had to learn how to stay sober on the streets too, which is a whole different thing, and that's where a lot of guys slip up. A lot of guys can stay sober in jail, under those circumstances. Like, you're like protected, you're isolated. There's dope in there, but it's easier for me to say no in there, and so learning how to deal with life on life's terms for real is a whole different thing. You know what I mean? Because out here, there's a lot more temptation. There's 100%. A lot more pressure, right? We got different pressures out here. And, but dude, I had just developed this faith. You know what I mean? I had developed this faith that I was taken care of. You know what I mean? And that as long as I did what I needed to do, and like just work hard and trust God, that was it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm gonna put the steps to work in my life. I'm gonna do the things that they suggest in these programs. And like I said, I didn't necessarily feel like I needed these meetings, but I went there, to develop relationships with people in recovery, develop new friendships, new relationships, and then to also spread the message, right? To be of service, and, started getting some sponsees and like falling into different service positions that way. And the more that I've done that and like stuck around these rooms, like I'm just willing to do whatever it takes, you know what I mean? To continue to progress in my life, and to get and stay sober, and to like live a happy life. Right. And I'm just not going to use no matter what happens. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going back, So, and I have humbled myself to the point where I know that I don't know how to stay sober on my own. Like I've tried, bro. Yeah. I didn't just make that decision to get sober at 28 years old. Yeah. I had been in and out of these rooms for a decade. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I knew that I was a drug addict at 18, 19 years old. Right. My dad brought me into Narcotics Anonymous in Sacramento when I was using Oxycontin, as a youngster. You know what I mean? And I remember taking a 30-day chip high as a kite, up there just fucking lying through my teeth. You know what I mean? And so I knew I had a problem, and I knew I wanted to be sober too, but I just wasn't willing to take suggestions. I wasn't willing to like do whatever it took to get and stay sober. There was still a lot of pain that I needed to go through. There's a lot of lessons there. And, looking back, I regret some of the things that I've done, but I don't regret any of the things that I've been through.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they've all shaped me into the man that I am today. And, running from Sacramento, the street life, to Tahoe, I found my daughter's mom and had, Lindsay, and like the biggest blessing I've ever had in my life, up to that point. Like it's just none of that would have happened if I'd have gotten sober at 19. I wouldn't have moved to Tahoe.
It'd be different.
Right? Things would have just been different.
Right.
So looking back, it's like, I regret some of my actions,
100%,
and like the decisions that I've made, but the things that I've been through, I feel like we go through for a reason. You know what I mean? And it's been a blessing, really.
Right. I mean, well, there's that scripture, he who is forgiven much loves much. And that it really shows in people's lives that are walking in the light but come from just straight up darkness.
Yeah.
And that scripture doesn't mean just to love much, to go sin. If you live a good life and you're pretty much a saint, continue that.
Yeah.
That's great. It's better not to be the prodigal. That like the son was like, oh, why'd you kill the fattened calf for this guy that just squandered all your money and came back when he's in need? Well, he was dead. We're celebrating life here.
Right.
That's what we're doing here. We like to celebrate life and the things that are good. If you're already in that light, man, God bless you. And I hope none of you ever see the freaking addiction or the crimes that we've done. Because listen to what he just said. All the behavior, headbutting freaking people and chains and stuff. And just going through all that craziness. And but again, I'll say this over and over, through that stupidity and the how wild that is, you ended up in the hole, and it ended up being really good for you.
Yeah, it was exactly what I needed.
You had the desire. And think about it, bro. A lot of people that are flat out just evil criminals, they plot in that freaking hole.
Yeah.
They read 40 whatever laws of power and they're sharpening their evil tools and devices, bro. But you went a whole nother direction, bro.
Yeah.
And that's huge,
Yeah. And God had been on me pretty heavy, never left me, first of all, and then like been with me through all that darkness, and I always had that conviction of the Holy Spirit. I found God pretty heavy like in the Navy when I was like 18, 19 years old, and I remember they used to have like this little pamphlet called the Daily Bread, and started reading that like every day, and it came on me that way.
Yeah.
And over the years, like it stayed with me, and I've always sought it out and like been interested in that, and it just developed over time, and so that conviction was there, and I knew that wasn't the life for me. You know what I mean? I was searching for something in that street life, and but it's not who I was at my core. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not what I wanted to do. And I remember having a conversation. I think the first time I ever went to rehab, and I was living in North Highlands, selling coke and like doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was like 3 a.m. Up all night with my buddy, and he's like, well, what do you want out of life? You know what I mean? Like, if you could have it, where do you want to be?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I just want to be like, I just want to have a family. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be a father. I didn't have my daughter at the time. And I was just like, I just want to be a father and like be happy and like, live a normal life, and then he's like, then go to rehab, bro, because this, this is not the life. If that's what you want,
you won't find it,
because we were running and gunning, and that only goes one place, death and destruction. It goes to the pen or it goes to the graveyard.
Yeah.
And so I did, and I went to rehab, and like I was sincere, like I sincerely wanted to be sober. I just I wasn't humble enough.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't willing to humble myself enough to really take the suggestions and, to really be all in. And I think that's what it takes, like you have to be all in, and that's the difference now. And what's gotten me to this point in 6 years of sobriety is like, I had hurt enough, I had been through enough pain to where I was at the end of the road. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like my health had declined. Yeah. I'd lost everything. My mental health was in shambles. Yeah. Like the things that I was doing out there were just wild.
Causing pain too.
No, it was all self-caused, bro. Like all of the trauma that I've been through in my life has all been self-induced. Yeah. I don't come from a bad household. I don't come from a bad neighborhood, like any of that shit, dude. Like I had every advantage in the world to succeed. All of the pain that I've been through has all been self-induced because of the things that I've been drawn to and attracted to and pursued. Right. Like I remember having this thought as a child, and it brought me to tears at the time, that I either want to go to war or I want to go to prison. Like I need to go through something like intense.
Dramatic,
bro. And I remember like feeling scared about it. Yeah. But I just like knew that this was going to be a wild ride. You know what I mean? Dang. And it has been, and I'm just so grateful that I made it out, because especially in today's age, like people are just dropping like flies, dude.
We just, went to a meeting yesterday and we heard a few announcements of just people dropping, man, and what happened at the Super Bowl in Tahoe. You happen to know a few of those people, and it's just, I don't know, not much time goes by without hearing about another fentanyl overdose, dude. Yeah. Like it's becoming sickening at this point. Like I woke up the other morning and I'm like, I'm gonna grind so hard for this recovery thing and for others, like to the best of my ability, because I have this deep hatred and desire to towards just helping people. I hate the sin that they're living in, but I have a desire to help them. Yeah. And it's become like instilled in me to the point where I'm like, dude, I'm all in. I don't care about my job. I don't care about my truck or anything that I have that is nice. Like I've already went through a few nice things and I was chasing things. I got my hands on some things and some money. Freaking empty bottle, bro. Yeah. That's the only way I can describe it. Because if that's what you're putting your faith in, and if that's what's keeping you sober, if that's what you're actually chasing, it's so meaningless. But when I go and I pull over and I talk to a homeless person, when I walk away, whether he received or not, or just someone struggling, someone that I know, I've been running into people just by I don't know, God's been spirit-led, bro. God's been leading me to places that people probably need to hear what I say sometimes. Yeah. And I'm growing in that, and I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue to pursue this. And I'm surrounding myself with like-minded individuals doing this thing and wholeheartedly. Yeah. And I see you're a big part of why I even have that in me, because I see the way you handle and deal with matters in addiction and recovery. You're really stern. Like you'll tell a sponsee straight up, you're screwed. Yeah. Continue to walk down that path and you're screwed. That's how we have to react to things, dealing with addicts. And we, like we said, we will probably touch up on like a full episode how to deal with addicts. That's a big topic on its own. It's a really fine line on what to do and what to say. Addicts are emotional. They're unstable. They can go off the deep end at any moment. So we do have to be careful on how we deal with these addicts. But through knowing God and receiving anointing from God, like we're just all of a sudden knowing how to do these things. You know, we didn't take no counseling classes or drug addict courses. I mean, I think you're trying to get your what is that called?
Drug and alcohol counseling.
Drug and alcohol counseling, which is amazing. When I heard that, I was like, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I went through all the schooling. I just have to do
the test,
the time in a rehab, which is difficult with my schedule. You have to have like so many 100 hours of experience on-site experience, whatever.
I mean, I do know some licensed rehabs, and I'll see what we can do about getting that
done.
You know, for sure.
It's in motion, but yeah, you know, to go back to what you're saying, like, yeah, first of all, you know, rest in peace to all those people that, you know, lost their lives over the weekend in Tahoe. It's freaking devastating.
Yeah, and to the families, you know.
Yeah, and they were good kids, you know. They weren't kids or adults, but you know, it's devastating. 2 of them were brothers, so their family lost, you know, a set of brothers in the same night.
Yeah,
and just beautiful people, you know, had the world at their feet, you know, and one wrong decision, you know, and that's where the game is at right now. You know, one wrong decision and it can be over. So if you're gonna use, you know, just be smart about it. At the very minimum, like, get your shit tested. You know, they sell test strips. Keep Narcan with you. Like, just be smart about it, you know. I don't promote any type of drug use, but, you know.
We don't promote death anymore.
We do. People are going to do what they're going to do, you know. Yeah. And there's ways to be smart about it. But I am all in, bro, you know. And
got to be.
And it started, like, with the devastation of, like, seeing my best friend overdose, you know. And it fucked me up, you know. It did. It hurt. It still hurts. Still hurts. Mm-hmm. And seeing, like, what it had done to me, and, like, seeing, like, what it had done to people that I cared about, and just, like, our community.
Yeah.
It's fucking brutal, dude.
Savage.
It's
this ain't oxy. This ain't heroin. That stuff was relatively innocent compared to what is happening now. Never before in history were you just smoking on something and you just didn't wake up. I don't know any other drug. Can you name a drug that you can just take a puff, a 50-cent hit, $1 hit, and die? No, dude. Like, the people that were dying and overdosing off of heroin, those are like half-gram shots. Nobody ever overdosed doing fat dabs out of a bong with heroin. No, you just can't. You just kind of fall asleep from smoking it.
Yeah.
But this fentanyl crap, let's call it for what it is, it's just demonic crap, is taking people out, dropping like flies, like no other. This has never been seen like this. This is never like this in history. I mean, people had cocaine overdoses snorting it, which is kind of a little, you know, kind of as innocent as smoking. You're just kind of putting something in your nose, just like you're putting something in your mouth, you know. But those people doing cocaine now, little do they know, like you said, need to get this crap tested because there's fentanyl. There's trace amounts of fentanyl in methamphetamine. There's trace amounts of fentanyl in cocaine. And those cartels, they don't mix it in a lab. There's a freaking pure chunk of fentanyl somewhere in that batch that someone's thinking they're doing cocaine.
Yeah.
And they take a deadly dose of what they thought was cocaine, and they just didn't wake up. It's really... It's disgusting.
It happened to my good friend.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that.
He was doing cocaine and just there's fentanyl in it and killed him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, to go back to something we were talking about earlier, like understanding and like having an awareness of like how good things are only because we've been through that darkness.
That love.
We are so grateful to be where we're at and to like be sober and to have the things we have because we've been through that devastation. You know what I mean? And I just want to help people out of that same place, you know? And I a covenant when I got sober that this is what I was going to do, you know, and it's been the most fulfilling thing in my life, you know,
yeah.
like it gives me purpose. It gives my pain purpose too, you know, and like gives meaning to the experiences that we've had. And there's nothing like being able to help somebody to overcome that stuff, dude. Because you like even with 6 years of sobriety, like it's easy to forget what that's like, you know.
Yeah, lose touch.
But dude, I remember, you know, I remember what it was like to just be wrapped in that addiction, dude, and just like feel like there's no way out, and just like could not overcome the temptation, and just could not, just powerless, you know, freaking powerless over my mind, over my ability to make decisions. And, you know, that power has been restored through a higher power, you know. I couldn't do it myself, you know.
Mm-mm.
I had to allow a higher power into my life to show me how to do this, to show me how to live clean and sober, and then work the steps and like healed from the trauma that had gotten me there in the first place.
Yeah.
It's not just one or the other. It has to be both, you know. We can't just work the steps and not have a higher power in our lives.
Faith.
And it's only having a higher power and not working the steps and like not healing from that trauma, that stuff's just going to resurface.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Until you look at that stuff in the face and like put it on paper and deal with it and like overcome those issues, they always come back. And it's not just the past things. That's with life in general, you know, like you will continue to be faced with the same issues in life until you overcome them.
Yeah.
Like, these things reoccur and reoccur.
Those things.
And it's God trying to get your attention. Like you need to
100%.
overcome this situation. You know what I mean? And addiction was a big part of that for me. Like having to figure out how to defeat this thing, dude. And thankfully, it's been figured out by other people before us.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a blueprint here.
The road is paved.
The road has been paved.
Like
you
the
know?
work has been put in.
Yeah. And if you're willing to humble yourself and like listen and like actually take those suggestions and put the work in, there's a way out, you know? And that's what I was so grateful for, was like, there's a way out of this. You know, I had seen it work on other people. You know, I had read it. I've touched it, felt it, like it's real. People that were worse off than me have gone through this and come out the other side.
Yeah.
And I knew that if they could do it, I could do it too.
Yeah.
You know, and I've carried that feeling, you know, through recovery too, like through this endurance stuff. Like that's been a huge thing, is like seeing other people do things. I'm like, dude, if that fool can do it, like I could do it too.
This guy lost 150 pounds and ran a marathon. You know?
Yeah.
Like you know, you got good genetics. Like you're able to hit the ground running in your fitness, and you kind of encouraged me to get in my fitness life. And, you know, I've lost a good amount of weight. I'm feeling better. I don't have so much fat around my face, and I'm prepping meals, and I'm like not only all in on my recovery, but I'm you know, diving into my fitness life too, cardio, lifting weights, and you know, you've highlighted, and I've mentioned this before, the amount of things you are able to process through your fitness is how I process emotions. I don't just kick back and smoke a blunt, because that's all I did. I get out of rehab and I got a lot of stuff still, you know, still there. I went straight back to drinking, you know, 6-pack a day, taking shots of hard alcohol, calling all the wrong people. I actually, right after rehab, you know, I got a good job, and I ended up picking 2 ounces of coke up. And thankfully, when I picked that up, I'm just so happy I have a relationship with God. The conviction was so strong. Like, you are headed down a real dark path. Get rid of it and don't pick it up again. Yeah. That was the instruct. I literally sold it for what I got it for, even though I was able to And that's the thing. It was another opportunity for me to make money in that realm again. Like the connects that I've gathered over the years, I'm able to just jump into wickedness, and I'm just, because my way, I would have just dove right back into it. Yeah. But I'm just so thankful for that conviction in me, man, because that was just a slippery slope waiting to happen. That was my fall, and it was a fall of its own. But what does a righteous man do? One that seeks God's righteousness, he just gets back up several times. There's no number on how many times you can get back up. And today, you know, I get back up from different types of sins, from falling into lesser things and overcoming things, you know what I mean? And just going over these hurdles and obstacles on a level I wasn't able to process or even comprehend how to even begin to do before, you know, and you know, seeing what you're able to accomplish is freaking insane. You're running a business, you got plenty of kids right. I don't know, you got a lot of kids right around, a lot of irons in the fire, you know? Yeah. And the way you're able to handle and just be like, you know, you're just kind of just sipping on your coffee, bro. Yeah. And you're not picking up, like, and on top of all that, you're being of, you know, service. And, you know, we you know, there's the saying, you know, do unto others as you want done to you, man. And you know what I wanted, honestly? I didn't know at the time, but in my darkest moments, I longed for someone like us to come into my life and be the light. Yeah. I literally longed for it, bro. I just, you know, I can break down in tears thinking about it. But what I'm able to do about that now is, you know, I got a phone call from someone struggling in addiction last night. Hey, can you pick me up from jail? And it was already late and I'm tired and, you know, and I had all these excuses, but then like, I'm like, dude, this is part of what I do now. Yeah. I honestly don't even belong to myself. I'm a bondservant of Christ. I've my past and my sins have been paid for with a real severe price, you know, and I'm able to, you know, be that light in people's darkest moments. And the dude straight up told me, you know, my friend told me when I was dropping him off, he's like, dude, thank you so much for picking me up, man. I needed that light. He's like, it's life and death for me right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm struggling, bro. And I was stern, and I gave him direction because I've been back and forth with this guy for a while now. I tried getting him in the rooms or the programs, and it's a work in progress, man. But I'm not going to stop. Yeah. Until, you know, obviously, like your parents, there's a point where you just need to cut someone off. You know what I mean? But it's not there yet. You know, he's trying. He's you know, he has the potential to get sober. So I'm not going to give up on him. I'm going to keep striving and doing those things. And
yeah, no, that's what it's all about.
Right.
It's all about being there when somebody needs it, you know, like being the example, being the light. And that's why we do it, you know? Yeah. And it's not us, you know, like we allow ourselves to be in position to be of service, you know? Yeah. Like, and that's what I asked God when I got sober, was like allow me to be a vessel of your truth, of your knowledge. Like, help me to help others. Like, help me to help you to help others. Yeah. Like, work through me to bring this message to people that are stuck in the darkness. Because you're right, dude. We need people like us to show us a way out.
100%.
You know, and there's plenty of guys like us out there, you know, good dudes that are just lost in the streets, you know, and like have good hearts and righteous intent and are powerless over their addiction. Right. And if they could overcome that addiction, they can live great, meaningful lives. Yeah. But they're powerless and they don't have a freaking way out, or they don't see the way out. Yeah. And so it's up to us to shine that light. Right. You know, and that has given me great purpose. And you know, to go back to what you're saying about, you know, picking up the coke and stuff, dude, I had that temptation too, you know, and like, I just had to remind myself that, like, I just want something different, you know, like I've done it. I've already done it. Like I've played that street role all the way to the very end. Yeah. You know, like I sold all the coke, rob the drug dealers, rob the places, like whatever. Anything I wanted to do in the streets, I've already experienced.
Right.
You know what I mean? So why would I choose to go back? You know, like God has given me this golden opportunity here to do something worthwhile in my life and that I want to do. Like I want something different. And so I have to remind myself that like going back to that lifestyle is the wrong direction. You know what I mean? And any type of ill-gotten gains like that, especially when you're out there poisoning the community with fucking drugs, it has negative karma attached to it. Like you can't, all those things are accounted for, you know, like with every action, there's a reaction, you know, whatever that is, like you're out there putting that crap in our streets. Like there's prices to pay for that stuff, you know, in this life or the next. And, I'm just trying to be on the winning team, you know. I've already played that game to the full extent, and you know, I've repented, and I feel like my karma's been washed, you know, and like I've been given a clean slate.
Yeah.
And so it's up for me to make something of my life. And you know, I don't feel like I'm shackled to this world anymore the way that I was.
Yeah.
You know, and so through having that righteous intent and like trying to live this life of sobriety and been on this journey, like being of service and like trying to walk with God, my life is just incredibly blessed, you know, and it wasn't like that when I was in the streets. You know what I mean? My life was not incredibly blessed. It was a mess, dude. It was a mess.
Yeah.
And that's where that goes. And like, we just get blinded by like, you know, guys like us, we're attracted to that street life, you know, like we were attracted to it at a young age, and it's still like flashy, you know, like it's still
to some degree, yes.
It's still, you know,
enticing.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for us, it's like we've done it. We've seen it. We've played the game, and we've felt the pain.
Right.
You know, and there's nothing more there for me. You know what I mean? Like it was all painful.
Yeah.
Very short-term fun.
Very.
Like
so short-lived.
Short-lived, dude. At the end of that road was all painful, you know? And this life in sobriety is just like it's not even close how much better it is, you know? And it was kind of scary at first. I didn't know what it was going to be like.
Yeah.
You know, like I thought it would be boring. You know, like, what am I going to do with my time? Because all my time revolved around getting drugs before, you know, or the getting of money to get the drugs and to have a good time. And so it was like, what am I going to do with myself? You know, but when you're just trying to do the next right thing, there's plenty to do.
Yeah. You know, so that's a stigma, or I hear a lot in the rooms and just outside the rooms, like sobriety's freaking boring. And what makes it boring is like that's all you knew was to have fun from drugs.
Yeah.
And once you realize all that fun from the drugs is so short-lived and it's really not fun at the end of the day, once you truly realize that, man, and you have that breakthrough, only then, you know, after doing steps and working a lot of the things that are, you know, hindering you in life, only then are you able to have fun sober.
Yeah.
And you know, and a lot of that just comes from, like we said, man, just tapping in with the higher power, dude. You got to do that, you know. And you know, for the atheists and agnostics out there, I'll tell you, one higher power than you is the rooms and the people in the AA program. And the book, honestly, there's more in there than you ever done in your life. Yeah. Period. There's more power there than you. That is a higher power. So if you need to start there, just start. It's a matter of starting and being open. Blaine did not come from a Christian background or a godly background. Very little did you hear of God, you know, growing up. Like, of course, you know, your dad had some kind of faith and creator God, you know, and you know, you've had glimpses, but you found God by just diligently seeking him. And I know people that are just years sober, and I'm like, dude, stop the cap. You haven't found God yet. I honestly think you're not diligently seeking him. For one who seeks, he finds.
Yeah.
stop the cap. You may just not even want to know God, or God has spoken to you and you just freaking dust it off.
Yeah.
You seek God diligently, you're going to find him. That's just the fact of the matter. Like in my first interview, I dramatically called out to God and ended up in a pool of sweat and tears. You know what I mean? And he slid through in a way I could have never imagined. And I'd be stupid to turn away from him because of the way he revealed himself to me. I'd be literally idiotic. Because in an instant, the whole room turned white. I felt joy, happiness, peace, and I just watched my sweat in an instant. Just one of the sickest things I've ever seen in my life was watching God wipe away my tears, a puddle of tears and sweat on the ground, bro. And I just couldn't stop laughing. And I was in a really dark moment with a lot of pain going on inside. And for some reason, I was able to feel all the fruits of the Spirit, as it says in the Bible, you know, joy, love, peace, happiness. I felt it all. Unreasonably so in my predicament. I should have not felt those things, but I did because I called out to God and he came through. And no, the next day I wasn't sober and I didn't just hit the ground running, but the sequences of events that followed was just nothing short of miraculous. Breaking up with my girl and everything that happened and how I was wrong, dude. I needed to be broken and crushed because I still had that stupid mentality of the streets. Like I'm freaking somebody, you know?
Pride.
Right. If you think you're somebody in the streets, you're most likely not, bro. There's a 99% chance. 99% of the gangsters out there are not really gangster. That's why the 1%ers are called 1%ers, because the other 99 are just a bunch of fools and they're not really about it. That gangster flies out real quick and it's flown out on us, bro, because for good reason. It was not real, bro. Yeah. That thug in you was just freaking fake. And I'm not trying to shame you or whatever. I'm just calling it out for what it is. I wish someone told me that. It probably would have angered me too at the time. And I think I've been called, you know, someone's told me that in my street life. Oh, you're not really freaking gangster, dude, thinking you are doing what you're doing, you know?
The thing is like, it doesn't even matter if you are a fucking gangster, bro. Like,
right. Doesn't matter.
Because, you know, I was about that action and like, I was full blast in the streets,
me
you
too.
know, and like, you know, you can check my paperwork. I never said shit. You know, I was facing a bunch of time. Like, I kept it fucking gangster all the way to the end. But that's not the gangster that I was really trying to be. Yeah. Like, the real gangsters are the ones that can really know what gangster is. And gangster really is taking care of your people. You know, like doing the things that you should be doing in life. Taking care of your children. Like being the example to the people that look up to you. Being the example in your community. Like, that's gangster, bro. Taking care of your freaking family. That's what gangster is. Like, living an honest, righteous life. You know, like, doing the things you need to do.
Gangster.
That's way more gangster than freaking robbing a 7-Eleven, you know, and stealing from people and poisoning your community. That shit's whack, bro. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's all just full of pride and arrogance, you know, and those people, including myself, that were, you know, gangster, like really out there in the streets, we're just hurt people, bro. You know, and we act on those feelings and emotions, and like, because we go through situations that turn us into fucking animals, you know. Like, I had gone through pain and trauma to the point where I got the fuckets, you know. And I didn't care about other people. I didn't care about myself. So I was willing to, you know, commit violent crimes and you know, to do drugs and sell drugs and do all this stupid stuff, you know, because I didn't care anymore, you know, and that's really what it is. Or they're just misdirected, had bad childhoods, they had bad influences in their life, and they got pushed down the wrong direction, you know. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the real gangsters are the ones that go through that stuff and come out the other side and push the real knowledge on other people. that can show these youngsters like that's not the way.
Right. That's the real flex in life. That's the real way of life is showing and exposing that all that is a lie.
It's a lie.
Like some of the most gangsterous OG freaking criminals I know, like some real cats, and they're not godly people, will straight up tell me and tell others.
Yeah.
No. Just no, dog. Yeah. What you're doing as a youngster, shooting up cars and houses and robbing people and getting into stupid, pointless fights. No, that's not actually gangster. They will even tell you that. The people that have been through it. Listen to the ones that are experienced in the game and what they'll tell you, unless they're just flat out wicked. I'm not saying all of them are like that. There's some OGs and some people that are in and out of prison that'll tell you the whole other thing, that are still just enveloped and just living the lie.
But yeah, it's just.
Do you want to live a lie? Because he came to the conclusion at one point, and so did I, where I do not want to live a lie anymore. Yeah. And that, like I mentioned, that hatred that is growing in me for just the freaking filth of the streets and the sickness and the poison that's being poured out into the community is just, I'm on fire and I'm ready to get it. You know, that's what we need in life, you know, and the recovery addicts, bro, we're freaking addicted to this. This is where I get my high. We're drinking coffee. Sober as a gopher, and I just got dopamine and you know, stuff flowing through me that I needed a fat bag of weed or coke or heroin or oxy to get something even remotely close. Yeah. But at the end road of result of all that, as we know, we've said it multiple times, we've ended up where we ended up. We ended up thinking the thoughts that we thought, robbing banks and people and hurting people. You know, that's
a dead end road.
It's a dead end road. And we were able, you know, dude, it was like a point in my life where I was like talking to myself, bro. And I was mentally ill. It's not just a drug addiction. We're freaking ill here, dude. We're sick. And those things surface sometimes. Yeah. Those character defects surface sometimes. And the way we deal with those matters now, first of all, we repent and we turn away and we turn to whatever sponsors or just that program or just people in the light, and to ultimately to God, and we are able to work these things out and just live greater, better lives that was not so before.
Yeah, well, that's what we get out of working these programs is like we learn how to deal with life in sobriety. You know, when I was out there in the streets, and like a big part of the reason I couldn't get or stay sober is like I didn't know how to deal with life without drugs and alcohol. Like the drugs and alcohol were the solution to the way that I felt. Like I didn't like who I was. I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't like other people. And so I needed to numb the way that I felt. And it didn't start that way, but it ended that way. Yeah. And in sobriety and in early recovery, and the reason I kept going in and out is because I didn't have the tools yet. Yeah. You know, like I didn't know how to deal with it yet. Yeah. And in early recovery, like if I caught an offense and I didn't know how to deal with it, the only way I knew how to deal with it was to drink, you know, to change the way that I felt. I couldn't just sit in my own emotions and like feel and like process. And so in these programs, you know, we learn how to deal with life on life's terms. We learn how to feel, you know, and like process emotion and do something, you know, or not do something. Yeah. Right. It goes both ways. And like, you know, Jeremy shared last night, like losing his daughter in his own house from fentanyl, and like the emotions and like the process of that grief and overcoming those things. Like that's literally probably the worst case scenario in life. You know, you lose your child in your own house from any reason, but you know, from an overdose, and like it's unfathomable, that type of pain, you know, but to see him walk through it and like not use and to like be the example. Like that man, that's a man, bro.
That is a man.
And like to be able to be humble enough to talk about what he's going through, and like to be able to express those things and be the example, bro. Like it's incredible. And he, you know, is a very humble person, and like is very aware of his feelings. Like a lot of his share last night was just like the awareness of the things that he was doing wrong,
Right.
you know, and but really he's just grieving, you know, and like going through this transition in his life that nobody can, you know, he has every reason in the world to go get loaded.
Exactly. I was gonna say.
You know what I
that.
mean? And he's not gonna do it because he knows that's not the way.
Yeah.
Like it's not gonna make anything better. You know what I mean?
100%.
And so he's a great example, you know, and I'm grateful for all that recovery in that room. And you know, it's been such a good journey, dude. 6 years of sobriety, bro.
Yeah.
I couldn't even put 6 days together, bro.
I mean, come on, round of applause because, bro, man, it wasn't supposed to be so. Flat out,
Crazy.
it wasn't supposed with the way we aligned things and the things that we put into play. It was not supposed to be so. Yeah. But obviously, you know, you've put in a lot of work, and we've mentioned some of them. Like you turned a leaf in the jail cell, and you made that decision.
Yeah.
But you know, I just have a question for you. Like, what are just some of the day-to-day things that you do?
Yeah.
You know, in your recovery for others, and just the little nitty-gritty things that just add up. What are some of those things that you could maybe point out for us?
Yeah, I think, you know, it comes down to our habits, you know, like what are you doing every day? You know what I mean? Like, what does your day look like?
Yeah.
How are you spending your time? You know, and like I needed to develop a program of sobriety, like of recovery, and like build off of that. Like this sobriety and recovery has to be the foundation of my life. And God is at the forefront of that sobriety foundation.
Amen.
So everything builds off of that. So, you know, and I listen to a lot of successful people, mentors online, on YouTube, things like that. And I pattern my habits off of what they're doing. Like, okay, I want to be like this guy. Well, what's this guy doing? What's he talking about? How does he live? Right. And all the successful people are doing similar things.
Right.
They all have structured days.
Discipline.
You know, discipline, dude.
Yeah.
Being disciplined is like a huge part of it. And so, you know, I need to maintain a relationship with my higher power first and foremost. If I'm not spiritually fit, everything else goes sideways. You know, when I am spiritually fit, if things go sideways, I'm centered because I'm okay with my creator and my faith is there. Like it doesn't matter what's happening out here.
Yeah, the storm. Yeah.
The storm could be brewing, but I'm still in the storm, and I can be the rock, and I could, you know, maintain that faith through any type of chaos. So as long as I maintain that relationship first, then I can maneuver
And build around.
Yeah, and then from there it's like, well, how do I maintain that relationship? I pray. You know, I pray when I wake up. I read the Bible, and you know, it didn't used to be the Bible, but now it is. But some type of spiritual literature in the morning, and then I go about my day. You know, and I'm paying attention to how I'm acting. You know, like how I'm treating other people. You know, I try to treat everybody with respect. I try to be honest. You know, I try to treat people how I want to be treated.
Yeah.
Right. And when we're wrong, promptly admit it, you know, and just like be aware of myself out there. And then I'm, you know, making sure that I'm eating well, making sure that I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
I don't sleep well anymore because as a child, but before, you know, I try to sleep well.
Yeah.
You know, I try to maintain healthy relationships. You know, I don't talk to the dope man anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not involved with people that are involved in the streets anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm involved, like my community is family and recovery. Like that's it. Like I have an immediate family, I have an extended family, and then I have people in recovery. And I maintain some relationships with old friends, but only if they're doing things that are in alignment with my values.
Yeah.
You know, like people that are not If my values don't align with your values, if I can't lead you to the light, I'm not like, I just don't have time for it. You know, I'm not going to cast pearls before swine, right? Like
trample.
Yeah, you can't, like there's no point in just wasting your time with people, right?
Right.
So paying attention to your relationships, getting rid of toxic relationships, getting rid of toxic behavior, you know, and staying plugged into recovery, you know. I'm of service.
Yeah.
You know, I secretary meetings, H&I, you know, I have a weekly meeting. We do this. I have a homeless outreach through FFR. We're just starting one too. We're going to do our first one this weekend. And, you know, trying to, you know, pay attention to what God's will is in my life.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
a
like
big one.
Trying to be obedient to whatever that is, you know, listening to that still small voice in the back of my mind that whispers to me about what needs to happen or what I need to stop doing. You know, like that's where it's at, you know.
Yeah.
Like the ego is going to scream at you about, you need this, you need that, you should go do this, you need to tell that MF or this, you know what I mean? Like whatever it is, like that's the ego, you know, and the ego has its place, right? It's not all bad.
Yeah.
It motivates us to do things. It motivates us to be things.
Work out and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. The ego has its place. It's there for a reason, but you can't let it control the show.
You have to put it in its place.
It has to be in its place.
Yes.
It needs to be a tool. It doesn't need to be the freaking commander of your life.
Yeah, because then it turns into pride, and with pride, everything else seeks in. I notice, you know, resentment and pride are directly linked.
Yeah.
You know, and then pride and greed are directly linked because it's just self-centered.
Yeah.
And, you know, the other day, like I lied about something really stupid to someone that was a big part of my recovery and continues to just level me up. No, that's not company issued, you know? But immediately after I said that, you know, I didn't make amends with them, and I don't even think I really even need to. But, you know, I probably will just for the sake of things and keeping things good. But I wrote the company name on the box, and I repent. Oh my God, you know, most importantly, before God, I was like, I thank you that I just blurted that out.
Yeah.
Because it was so quick that it just happened. And as soon as I said it, I got like struck by conviction.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm just enveloped in this conviction. I'm just like, thank you. And it's uncomfortable. Like I wanted to hold on to that thing, dude.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, you know, whether it's expensive or not, which it was not really that expensive, $100 little freaking ratchet set from a Husky ratchet set. So petty, but with that little, you know, what's the next thing you're gonna want to lie and do? Because unrepented like that, and I just continue going, it's only gonna get worse.
Yeah.
And desire brings forth sin, and sin, when it's fully grown, is death.
Yeah.
And that desire to want to hold on to that caused me to sin. And at the end of the road of all that unrepented sin and just continuing to live that path is freaking death. You know, it starts with the little things, you know.
It does. And that's, you know, that's part of like the habits that I'm talking about in recovery. Like I had a habit of lying, you know, so I had to develop a habit of honesty, you know, like rigorous honesty.
Hard.
And it starts with being honest with yourself, you know, and it's good to have that awareness and like have that conviction, you know, and be obedient to that conviction.
Absolutely.
Because those are like the biggest progress points in my recovery is like when I'm obedient to that conviction or obedient to the message that I'm getting from the Holy Spirit, and then like taking action on that and actually changing or taking these steps to better myself or to better other people. Like that's where you level up. Is through that obedience in the right direction, you know? And so, yeah, all those daily habits, they add up, you know, because when you're winning the day over and over and over and over and over and over, these wins stack up, bro.
Stack.
And you're building self-confidence, and you're building relationships, and you're stacking money, and what, like, you know, you're progressing. And that's what it's about. It's about progress.
Yeah.
Moving in the right direction.
Progress, not perfection.
Heading towards a worthy goal and progressing towards that aim, you know? And you just take it one day at a time, bro. And, you know, like in the beginning, 1 year seemed so far away, you know, like when you're early in recovery, like you got a month or less than a month, like a year is like unfathomable, bro.
Kind of like,
and I remember getting a year and being like, man, I freaking made it, bro. Like I made it. It's all downhill from here. Like I'm at the top of the hill. I'm going to coast, you know, like this is going to be fine, you know? And, it's just all about progress, you know, like how can you sharpen that iron and like continue to head down that path and like be humble in your recovery and don't act like you freaking know everything, you know? And I still like, I'm still new to this, even with 6 years, like I know a little bit, but I don't know it all, you know? And that's why I have relationships with people that have more time than me and like have, you know, and talk to those people and like still read the literature and still listen to, you know, people talk about recovery that have more time because I'm still learning, you know, I'm still trying to progress. I'm still trying to get better. And now it's like, how can I get better at helping other people? You know, like how can I be more effective as a sponsor? How can I be more effective in serving other people? You know, because that's how we maintain sobriety is through service.
Have
like,
to.
Helping other people is like how giving this to other people is how we maintain it. You know, but you can only give away something that you have.
Exactly.
So you have to learn how to get it first and then learn how to give it away. You know, and it's been a journey, dude. And like my first couple years of sobriety, like it was just like, you know, looking back, like I felt like I had a lot of knowledge and I did have some knowledge, you know, but I was still lost in the world a lot too. Like I still had a lot of old behaviors that I was still trying to shed. I still had a lot of ego and I'm not saying I'm completely rid of it still, like I still do, but it's progress, you know? And the more that I've been obedient to my higher power and like continue to progress down this road of recovery, the better my life has gotten, you know, year after year, like year after year, it's been compounding better and better, you know, and just been on a steady increase, you know, like it's just continued to get better, you know, and it's through sticking to the foundation, like sticking to my roots and like practicing the things that got me here in the first place, you know, and putting recovery as the foundation of my life, putting God first in that recovery and building off of that and doing the things that have worked for me, like fitness and going to meetings and being of service, and then trying to grow and stretch and learn and trying to become better, you know, like trying to be better and progressing towards that ideal of what I want in my life, you know, and helping people up along the way, you know. And just in the last year, you know, since we moved in this house, you know, it was a huge milestone for me to get to 5 years last year. Like that's, you know, that's a huge milestone. You get your 5 year sobriety. And it was, dude. And it was a beautiful thing. And like, but even just from 5 to 6, you know, like a lot has happened in my life physically, you know, like we moved into this house last December. You know, I got engaged. We got married last year. We had a baby last year, you know, like moved from Tahoe down here. And, it's been wild, bro. But I've stayed grounded to the things that have gotten me here in the first place, and then really like doubled down. And it's not even on my own volition. Like through having my brother Steve, you know, I offered him an opportunity to live with me and stay with me and get sober. And through his faith life and like spending time with him and like really diving into Christianity through his faith and my wife's faith too. My wife has a strong faith and has since I met her. And so like her bringing me to church, Amen. And then, you know, through spending a lot of time with Steve and like really pounding the Bible and like really diving into that, my faith in the last year has grown very strong. And so that has been like the biggest change in my walk of recovery, is like really getting deep into Christianity and you know, reading the Bible every day, because that's not something I was doing before. And Steve recommended that I read Psalms every day, like read some Psalms, read some Proverbs, one each day. And so, you know, I owe a lot to him, and, you know, I love that fool, and you know, he's the one that raps at the end of these episodes.
Yeah.
And you know, he's out there right now in the world and struggling, but you know, he still has an opportunity, because this thing's not over till it's over.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? And if you're out there and you're still struggling and you're in and out of these rooms, like, so was I. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all you got to do is humble yourself enough to raise your hand and ask for help. You know, reach out to me. You know, reach out to me through social media. Reach out to David.
Yeah.
Go to your local NA, AA recovery meeting and humble yourself. Even it doesn't matter if you've been there and you relapse, like, you're always welcome there, you know? And that's what Jeremy was saying last night. Like, that's the beauty of these programs, is like, you're always welcome. It doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing, what you're struggling with. Bring your shit in here and let's talk about it.
There's only one requirement, and that's the desire to stop.
Yep. You
have that burning desire, reach out. And it's not just us, you know, look at the times that we live. Like, there's a lot of wickedness out there, but we need to really tap in and utilize the good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tools out there to get sober. 100%. This ain't 100 years ago where they just lock you up in a psych ward or they oust you out of the community. Yep. No, there is a community of misfits and undesirables that are becoming real good people in society.
Yeah.
I see some of the best people walking in and out of AA rooms, and 100%. Some of the worst. And that's the freaking beauty of it. Yeah. Two worlds collide, and we can actually make this happen. And from everything that you just said, what you do for your recovery, honestly, bro, it just sounds really basic, man. You have a system, you're freaking playing it through, and you're constantly, you know, meditating and just regurgitating and putting the tape, you know, on rewind and then playing it through again. Mm-hmm. It just seems really basic, and that's what it is. You know, recovery's not this freaking mathematical genius, bro. Yeah. It really isn't, dog.
It's not that complicated.
I see some of the dumbest people recover.
Yeah.
And I'm one of them. I'm not honestly that smart, dude.
You can outthink your way out of sobriety. You know, you can think your way right out of these rooms.
Right, and you know, trying to put some elaborate, and I hear and I see like people say this some elaborate system together and formula.
And that's why there's that saying, "Keep it simple, stupid."
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Back to basics too.
Keep it simple.
You know,
one day at a time. Keep it simple. Like, do the next right thing, show up, and freaking take care of business, you know, like, do the next right thing one day at a time, you know, and build these habits and see where it gets you.
Yeah.
You know, because the streets are always there, bro. They're not going anywhere. They're only getting worse.
Yeah.
You know?
The game is freaking faltering, and there's no love or loyalty out there. And if you do believe that there is, or if you're experiencing any of that kind, just know that that love is short-lived. It is not for you. It is not with you, and it's gonna falter. It's gonna fall in on itself one day. Yeah. You know, you think you have a band of brothers or a group of freaking hustlers, and you're out there getting it. And I know people like this, and they're freaking getting it, dude. And they're freaking selling big amounts of fentanyl and doing crazy stuff. But trust me, I just got a phone call from one of those people in that group, and guess what? I'm the only one that emailed him. And I'm the only one that put money on his books. And the only reason why I even did that is because I wish someone did the same thing for me when I was locked up, bro. Yeah. I do unto others as I wanted done to me, bro, in my darkest moments. And he was enveloped in that group, and he should have all the support. But there ain't no love there, dog. They don't freaking care for you. You're gone. You're doing your 8, 10, 12 years or whatever the heck it is. You're doing it on your own. Yeah. It is just you at the end of the day when you go down that road, and no one's to be found.
Yep.
But that's where we come in. We try to be that light and that influence,
But the thing is, though, is like people do care, like
Amen.
you can, like, you feel lonely out there and like nobody gives a shit and like, going through it and just like depressed and I remember that feeling, you know, but you can come into these rooms and have never met any of us and we actually care. We actually love you.
Big time.
We actually are willing to give you the freaking shirt off our back to help you through what you're going through because we have the shared trauma.
Yeah.
Like we know how you feel. I know how you feel. I know what it's like to be completely engulfed in that lifestyle.
Amen,
I know what it feels like to lose everything. I know what it feels like to lose your child, and like not have custody. I know what it feels like to lose your jobs. I know what it feels like to be arrested. I know what it feels like to be homeless. I know how it feels, dude.
Yeah.
I know how it feels to want to fucking die.
Yeah.
To not wake up. Like somebody just fucking run me over. Like take me out of my misery because I cannot get sober. I cannot be happy. I know what that brokenness feels like. And I also know what it feels like to have peace and serenity on the other side, And I know what it feels like to be happy, joyous, and free, And there's a way out of that feeling,
There truly is.
And that's the beauty of this recovery program. And that's the beauty of God, really, is that redemptive power.
And that's why we do it, because it's actually tangible. Yeah. We are not crazy or delusional.
And we're no better.
We're no better.
If we can do it, you can do it.
100%. People worse off, again, than us.
Exactly. We don't have special powers. You know what I mean? Like, all we did was follow suggestions and seek out a higher power.
And we're open.
And humble.
Listen to advice.
Yeah.
And those are all hard things to do in the beginning. Honestly, I wanted to slap my first sponsor, which was Ryan. And he was, we had a really good sit down. And at points, I couldn't stand the guy. But, having that sit down with him here on the podcast, really opened up a lot. And it linked a lot together just between what was really going on when we were talking with you. That relationship needed to be there. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't like your sponsor, just freaking listen and continue, dude. Yeah. It'll only turn in for the good because you're seeking good out of it, man.
Yep.
From the bottom of your heart, diligently seek, and you will find.
Yep. So, grateful to be here. Grateful to be sober, bro. 6 years,
Congratulations,
Blessed.
brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Love you, dog.
Yep. Let's go.
Victorious we became, but never forgot where we came from. Life or death, not a game. We came to change the lane. Recovery addicts, that's the name. Give yourself a break, just one day at a time. You were born to shine, so live and let love be forever. My sister, my brother, don't give in. Please remember, the lie is dead. We do recover. Welcome home.